Marques Brownlee, or MKBHD, is an American YouTube sensation known for his technology-focused videos. His tech reviews often influence our purchase decisions, but have you ever watched his videos for the purposes of learning English? If not, then stick around because this video will study his vocabulary, pronunciation, idioms, in addition to some features of connected speech.
Best small phone. This is kind of a sad one, actually, this year, because while, like you've seen, lots of phones have been getting bigger and bigger, the small phones usually would pull up the rear. There'd be a couple small phones that sort of float around and deliver that special experience for people who want a flagship, but that's not huge.
Did you notice the idiom hiding in plain sight? The small phones usually would pull up the rear. Pull up the rear or bring up the rear means to be at the back of a group or lag behind in progress or competition.
So the iPhone 16 is rocking a 6.1-inch display. Note that it's the same body size as the iPhone 16 Pro, but with a slightly smaller screen. But I really like the way that Apple stepped up the base phones this year. They have really good cameras, really good battery life, flagship chip performance, years of software updates.
Years of software updates. Marques dropped the ta sound in software. This is known as elision in linguistics, the scientific study of language. Elision is when a sound disappears in rapid speech. This typically happens to make speech easier to produce. For example, postman can sound like postman. Most common can sound like most common.
I've been using OnePlus 6 every day now for about 2 weeks, and it is absolutely daily driver material. I think people who buy it, who know what they're getting themselves into, will like it a lot. And it's pretty easy to recommend right off the top. Really, the more interesting part is reviewing this phone for me has become an exercise in a study of the law of diminishing returns.
Marques said the phone is easy to recommend right off the top. If you say something right off the top or off the top of your head, you say it immediately without thinking about it carefully. An exercise in something is an idiom that means an action or situation that has a particular outcome. For example, arguing with her is an exercise in futility.
The most important feature of the OnePlus 6 is the price. It starts at $529 in this world of $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 flagships. So they're kind of working in the reverse direction. Instead of pushing value as high as you possibly can, they're kind of thinking, how much can we cut off of the price without sacrificing a significant amount of value?
When Marques said working in the reverse direction and thinking, he dropped the G. This is known as G-dropping. G-dropping provides insights about the speaker's class, gender, and so on. Studies show that men tend to G-drop more often than women.
How cheap can we make this phone and still make it great? And every year OnePlus does this. They have to make this balance of things they want to cut out versus things they want to keep. And I think this year they've made a bunch of good choices and come out with a balanced budget performance beast.
Native English speakers often pronounce function words in weak forms. Function words perform a grammatical function, such as pronouns, articles, and prepositions. The word of has 3 pronunciations. Native speakers often pronounce the a pronunciation as opposed to what we were taught at school. As a result, a bunch of good choices becomes a bunch of good choices.
And then it's also not officially IP rated for water resistance. OnePlus kind of just says like, it's okay if you splash water on it, it'll survive daily use, but they don't officially IP67 or IP68 rate it. So keep that in mind. Great build, great materials, great construction, but all those other little things that you have to weigh against that.
But they don't officially IP67 or IP68 rate it. Marques used IP67 as a verb, which I find quite interesting. He also used a handy phrasal verb, weigh something against something. It means to compare 2 things to determine which is more important.
Hey, what's up? MKBHD here, and this is the iPhone 12. And I feel like we've all seen an iPhone before at this point. This is a pretty familiar iPhone. We've seen the rounded corners and the notch and the lightning port, but there are a couple key changes this year that are a first in the iPhone. So I've been using this iPhone 12 for a bit.
Americans pronounce the word notch very differently from the British. In American English, this vowel is more open. So it's notch and not notch, cop and not cop, fond and not fond.
Now I'm going to do a separate video on the Pro in this sweet blue color. I think it's the best color, but These two phones are very similar, same exact size, like a case that works for one, works for the other, same main cameras, almost the same screen, same battery, same charging.
Rather than saying battery, Marques said battery. That is to say, his T sounded like a half-hearted D. This also happens in case of words like water and matter. This is one of the hallmarks of American English.
Shatter protection, basically, which is great. But I typically care just as much, if not more, about scratch resistance, all the little micro scratches that your phone gathers over time. And the thing about scratch resistance is it's typically inversely proportional to shatter resistance.
As I explained before, it's shatter and not shatter. In linguistics, this feature is known as a tap or a flap.
So if it shatters a lot less when dropped, we'll see. That would be nice. But I feel like a lot of the drop stuff is happenstance. Like if I happen to drop my phone a certain way, it's definitely gonna crack, right? And if I happen to drop my phone another way, it's probably not going to. So I don't know.
We often use structures like if I happen to drop my phone, you can express the same meaning with the word chance. For example, you can say, if I chance to drop my phone.
So the number one MagSafe accessory that Apple sells is the Puck charger. It doesn't come with a brick, by the way. So if you buy the charger for $40, make sure you have a USB-C charging brick. But yeah, just kind of slaps onto the back of the phone. You line it up with the magnets. You kind of get used to where it places right over the Apple logo, and that's all good.
One of the features of MKBHD's English is that he uses simple words. Non-native speakers of English find his content easy to follow. Mr. Who's the Boss's English is a tad more sophisticated. TechSpart's English is even more advanced.
I've been waiting for this for a while. As someone who's been on the sidelines of the Windows game for a little while now and seeing all of this hype and this new matte black laptop that's supposed to be generational, it's got me thinking, is it legit? Like, have Windows laptops actually caught up to the Apple Silicon leap from a couple years ago?
Marques described himself as someone who's been on the sidelines of the Windows game. If you're on the sidelines in a situation, you are not taking part in an activity. You are keeping yourself at a distance.
The other second success that we were looking forward to was just a well-optimized performance. And it's not like the super high-end gaming performance. I'm not talking about that type of performance, but I just mean like a general smoothness and consistency and rock-solid performance across all your everyday regular tasks.
In British English, words like chance, task, and ask are pronounced with a longer vowel, chance, ask, and task. In American English, however, they retain the shorter vowel. This distinction is known as the trap-bath split.
Now, I'm going to get into app support in a minute, but I basically found this to be a very capable laptop. Now, again, I've been on the sidelines from Windows for a bit, so I don't have as many reference points, but this is a $2,000 14-inch laptop that can basically do anything I ask of it without breaking a sweat.
A laptop that can do anything I ask of it. The word ask has many meanings. One of them relates to when you want something done by someone or something. Another meaning is related to asking questions. In South Asia, many people make the mistake of using the preposition to with ask. For example, the teacher asks questions to the students. But the right preposition to use here is of. The teacher asked questions of the students, just like the MKBHD sentence, a laptop that can do anything I ask of it.
I have been using this M1 Max MacBook Pro for the past 3 years since it came out. It's been great. I have felt absolutely no compulsion to upgrade since. Haven't needed to. It's funny, most of my work is pretty light, but occasionally I will have to edit a video on the go.
Marques said, most of my work is pretty light. Many non-native speakers of English would probably say most of my works. And that would be an error because the word work is uncountable. In fact, 9 times out of 10, work is uncountable. So please do not say works unless you are absolutely sure.
A sort of more reasonable incremental upgrade going from M1 to M2, then M3, and then M4. So I think it's pretty obvious that nobody with an M2 or M3 needs to upgrade, but there's been enough improvements now stacking up upon each other from M1 to M4 that the numbers are now starting to get kind of interesting.
There's been enough improvements. Technically speaking, it should be there have been because the subject is plural. However, that's how native speakers say it. It's been widely accepted. If you've learned something new, let me know in the comments. Also, let me know whose English you'd like me to analyze next.